you about the Commission. Yeah. So there's no question that changes brought into the social security system since 2010 have failed benefit claimants and disproportionately impacted on disabled people. And it's simply not credible at this stage to say otherwise. Research by the University of Essex and Inclusion London, published at the end of last year, evidenced that it's not just the stopping of money through benefit sanctions, as awful as they are and as Andy's talked about so powerfully, that has a detrimental impact. But the process of conditionality itself is literally mad-making and pushes disabled people further from the labour market. The pace of changes to social security that have been brought in, each with their own specific calamitous consequences, has left claimants, disabled people, and the organisations that represent us fighting a largely rearguard action as we attempt to mitigate the worst impacts and try what we can to ward off further avoidable harm. As a consequence, we can easily come across as just being anti-everything and of having lost the forward vision that used to characterise the disabled people's movement. But I'd argue that the problem isn't that claimants and disabled people are incapable of conceiving solutions. Far from it, I think we're the best placed people to do it. But that the combination of voluminous and complex policy changes at the same time as our organisations and our groups are losing funding and capacity has inevitably led us to focus on what is rather than what could be. And that's why I was so delighted when Michael Orton from the University of Warwick approached Inclusion London and London Unemployed Strategies, and he talked to us about the idea of a grassroots user-led project looking to the future with a focus on social security. From there, and with funding and much valued input from Trust for London, we were able to get off the ground what's now developed into a user-led commission of inquiry on the future of social security led by experts by experience. We have a board of commissioners who are all people with lived experience of the social security system, representing a wide number of London-based grassroots, claimant and disabled people-led organisations, groups and forums, and covering a range of equality strands, impairment groups and support needs. I think it speaks volumes about the current hostile environment for disabled people and benefit claimants that a number of those involved can't be publicly named for fear of DWP reprisals. Answerable to the board, we have a secretariat of Michael, Kate Summers from LSE and Rosa Morris.
Sorry, could you speak a little bit slower?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Bringing technical expertise, and that board itself is made up of a majority of disabled people. We now hope that alongside think tanks, academics and civil society organisations, that many more people with lived experience, that groups and organisations will get involved and share their ideas through our call for evidence, which we're launching today and which my colleague Nick will explain more about. Access and inclusion are key considerations for this project, not only with regards to the call for evidence, but also in terms of how we as commissioners meet and work together. I'm particularly personally proud that we include a number of members with fluctuating and energy limiting impairments, and also of the way we're looking to use drama and art and theatre to make our call for evidence more inclusive. This project places claimants, including disabled people who make up a substantial proportion of social security recipients, at front and centre of developing policy proposals. For me, this is absolutely crucial for successful policy making, and it's what distinguishes this project markedly from other similar work that's going on at the moment. For many years now, successive governments have been setting the direction of social security changes without proper evidence bases or anywhere near adequate evaluations of impact. This approach has been epitomised by universal credit, where, as the UN Poverty Rapporteur, Philip Alston, remarked, a test and learn approach has reduced claimants to guinea pigs. There are glaringly obvious issues, such as the numerous problems with a digital by default approach for the many disabled people who don't have online access or home support. Issues that should have been taken into account at the earliest stages of universal credit design, and could so easily have been just by talking and listening to the real experts. And by that I mean disabled people and claimants ourselves. To quote the late, great disabled campaigner Mike Oliver, when non-disabled people do things for us, they get it wrong. The reason for that, I would suggest, is not that non-disabled people don't care, but rather that despite the fact that disabled people make up 21% of the population, disabled people's issues remain extremely marginalised within society, and the realities of our lives relatively hidden from the mainstream. As a result, policies that affect us are too often based on assumptions that are way wide of the mark, but only realised too late in the policy-making process. For this reason, I'm really excited about being part of this project and its potential to show there is a different way of doing things, one that avoids the mistakes, the harm and the waste that top-down policy making has led to in recent history, one that takes a grassroots and user-led approach. And I'm really looking forward to the next stage of the project. Thank you.